everyone, my name is Francesca Polito and I am a high school senior here in Baltimore, Maryland. Like many of my friends, sports have always been a big part of my life, starting out on rec leagues and middle school teams when I was younger, and later on, club teams and high school varsity sports. Being a student athlete is very much a part of who I am, a part of my identity. And that's true for millions of kids across the country. Sports have given me a tremendous amount of satisfaction, amazing friendships, the fun of being a part of a team, physical skills, and just helping me stay in shape. Of course, injuries come with the territory. ACL tears, fractures, concussions, it's a little scary how commonplace these things have become. Those are the injuries everyone sees, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I made this video to specifically address what's not so obvious in the high school athlete, the mental health stresses that often lurk in the background. There's no question that awareness about mental health in sports has dramatically increased in the past few years. First, there were the professional athletes who used their platforms to speak out about their own personal struggles. Some of the highest profile individuals were Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, and Baltimore's own Michael Phelps. At the next level down for professional sports, we've got the NCAA. 2022 marked a turning point in the public's understanding of the scope of mental health problems at the college level. The death of Stanford University's Katie Meyer by suicide in March of 2022 shocked the college athletic world. The goalie for Stanford's soccer team, Meyer played a crucial role in the school's NCAA Division I championship win in 2019 and later served as captain of the team. How could this happen to someone with so much success? Tragically, this was followed by 4 more NCAA athletes who died by suicide in the span of less than 2 months: Robert Martin, Jaden Hill, Sarah Schultz, and Lauren Burnett. Some players are speaking out about the problem, most notably Kaylin Bracken, a Vanderbilt lacrosse player who posted an essay titled "A Letter to College Sports," detailing the stresses faced by college athletes and the need for coaches and administrators and parents to understand the problem and respond appropriately. All of this increased awareness at the professional and collegiate levels is great, and it's long overdue, but shouldn't we also take advantage of this moment to focus on the high school athletes? Think about how big youth sports have become. It starts really early, way before high school, and that's not a bad thing. Many studies have shown that participation in sports from an early age has all sorts of benefits. The increased physical activity establishes great habits for future exercise, lower rates of obesity, and better cardiovascular fitness. And it's not just physical benefits. Kids participating in athletics do better in the classroom and are ultimately more likely to graduate high school and enroll in college. But the data are confusing at the high school level. Many big population studies have shown that students who are athletes have lower rates of depression and anxiety than non-athletes. Absolutely, that is true. But the problem with large-scale population studies is that it's too easy to make the wrong conclusion. High school athletes are at risk of depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. The stresses on mental well-being often start years before a student athlete ever sets foot on a college campus. Fortunately, many researchers have drilled down and looked at high school athletes more closely, and the findings show that there are specific circumstances and risk factors to be aware of. Who needs to be aware? The student athletes themselves, of course. As an athlete, self-awareness is hugely important. Know yourself and know what risk factors increase stress and anxiety. Just as importantly, parents, coaches, athletic directors, and trainers need to know what to look for. Let's take some of these issues one by one and see what can be done about them. First, early specialization in just one sport. To maintain a competitive advantage, lots of kids nowadays stop playing multiple sports and just focus on their main one. But multiple studies have shown that single sport athletes are more vulnerable to overuse injuries and, from a mental health standpoint, burnout. Here's this sport that you love, but you do it over and over, year after year, without any variety. And suddenly, you lose your passion for a sport that's part of your identity. That single sport approach, the pressure to over-specialize and overtrain, puts players at risk for negative psychological reactions, for burnout.
And have a coach that
Ari Shapiro-Miller is the Assistant Director of Student-Athlete Mental Health and Performance at Johns Hopkins University here in Baltimore. I had a conversation with him about the risks of youth sports, and he acknowledged this burnout issue directly.
The challenges, I would say, are the just mental fatigue and burnout that we're seeing over every sport at every level. And then just the amount of time that is spent with your sport can lead you to feel burned out and not lose your love for something that was used to be your favorite thing. Now it feels like your least favorite thing, and that's a really difficult thing to grapple with.
It's helpful to actually hear what college coaches think about single sport versus multi-sport athletes. Just Google college coaches and multi-sport athletes, and every single result quotes those coaches as being in favor of the multi-sport approach during high school. They say that those kids are more coachable, they're less prone to injury, they're more athletically versatile, so they can easily transition into other positions, and they have better mental focus because they're not burned out. Those are the kids who are more likely to keep their love of the game by the time they reach college. Another risk factor, injuries. Any injury, even a minor one, can be a stressor for a student athlete. But the injuries that can end a season, that can have a year or more of recovery time, like ACL tears, those are the situations that can take a toll on mental health. And again, this is especially true if much of the student's identity is wrapped up in that sport. Here the solution is a bit more complicated because injuries are a fact of life for athletes. One way to minimize the risk is what we've already said, play multiple sports. Playing different sports allows the athlete to work and develop different muscle groups, so there's less risk of overuse injuries. When an injury does occur, that recovery process can be long, and it often involves work with trainers and physical therapists. It's during that phase that parents and coaches should be on the lookout for signs of psychological distress, as there may be a role for a clinical psychologist or counselor as well. They should also be aware that the stress can continue even as a student athlete returns to active playing time, as there is often a fear of re-injury. Of course, there's another type of injury that has a direct impact on mental health: concussions. Most people are aware that concussions can cause a whole range of effects on cognition, memory, concentration, balance, and reflexes. As a general rule, most symptoms in the under 18 population should resolve within 4 weeks. But several observational studies have also found that sports-related concussions are associated with depression and even suicidal behavior in high school students, especially if symptoms last longer than 4 weeks. This is serious. It tells us that, yes, in the recovery phase after a concussion, the athlete's executive functioning, concentration, attention, memory, must be monitored for improvement. But there also needs to be a high level of awareness and monitoring for changes in behavior or any apparent psychological distress. The CDC recently released its Youth Risk Behavior Survey. It showed that, as of 2021, 22% of high school students had seriously considered suicide in the prior year. 10% had actually attempted suicide. These are terrifying statistics. We need to pay attention to anything that increases the risk of suicide, and for student athletes, concussions may be one such risk. Researchers have taken notice of the concussion issue to come up with interventions that can make a difference. One approach, called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, has shown promise. This is a strategy that teaches people how to cope with and manage symptoms, and particularly how to reframe negative thinking around those symptoms. I spoke with Christina Kim, the Director of Wellness and Support at Gilman School here in Baltimore, about the pressures that high school athletes experience. She alluded to a common approach in CBT as she discussed the importance of student athletes to be in touch with their mental state.
So there's a saying, if you can name it, you can tame it. So the first skill sets, and starting with the earliest ones, is recognizing when you're feeling a certain way, what the triggers are. And the second is understanding the triggers, what just caused that. So if you can name it, then you have the right strategy to deal with it.
Much of this work is being done at large academic medical centers around the country. In the coming years, the question is going to be how to translate that type of intervention or any other one that shows effectiveness into broader availability and accessibility for all youth athletes. I hope this video brings more awareness to mental health issues in this population. High school athletes, play multiple sports if you can. take care of your mind as much as your body when you're injured. And if you have a concussion, know that it's not just about things like memory and concentration. Your mood can be affected too. So if you're depressed or considering suicide, talk to someone. The National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is now a 3-digit number. Call 988 if you need help. Keep playing your sports. Enjoy them. And remember, whether your home is the field, the court, the track, or the pool, you need a healthy mind as much as a healthy body.